final lesson of Unit 2 then is we're going to look at the status and health of parents and elders in Canada. So many people, many scholars suggest that parenting, or when you become the parent, that this is the biggest change in the life cycle, as now you're becoming more responsible for someone else outside of yourself. So the change, and with that it's the biggest change in the life cycle. So the change for women tends to occur during pregnancy, as as you know from your health and sex ed classes, the fetus is growing in the woman, and physical changes are happening to her as well. So as these physical changes are coming, as you can feel the baby kicking and such, the woman starts to vision a new life and a new life of the baby. The physical act of birth and nursing. So the physical act of physical act of birth and nursing creates a strong attachment between mother and child. So the act of breastfeeding, and I think we've talked a little bit about the benefits of breastfeeding versus formula feeding. So not only is the breast milk the most nutrient dense food that a baby can get, but it also creates a strong attachment to mom and child. And I think that attachment is important when we look at studies that Harlow did with the monkeys, the roost monkeys back in the day. So that's a very important bond that's created. For men, the transition to father occurs more slowly. Again, they're not going through the same sort of physical changes that women are going to, and this usually happens after the birth of the baby, and the baby becomes less dependent upon the mother. So even in the first weeks, months, how often will the mother be away from the baby? Because of the breastfeeding, she needs to be there. I suppose you could use a breast pump, and that she could be away for some time. However, likely she's around and only gone for only a couple hours at a time. So the father isn't usually alone with the baby for, you know, until they're kind of weaned off of breastfeeding, which the World Health Organization suggests that it should be 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding. So, yeah, it's kind of a slow process for fathers. Now, new parents state that they are constantly tired, but feel they had no idea that they could love something as much as their new son or daughter. And I don't know how colleagues of mine do it, having kids who don't sleep or who are sick in the night. I, for one, like a good quality sleep, and really need to function. In order to function, need a lot of sleep. So I just don't understand how people get it, but I guess it's trumped by the love that they feel for this child. And I don't have a lot of paternal instincts, but to see a kid run up to a parent after a day of work and they haven't seen their parent all day, that's pretty cool. Or to see, the image of one person and another, I also think that that's pretty cool. Um, this adrenaline of love gets parents through sleepless nights. This adrenaline of love gets parents through sleepless nights. The joys and challenges of parenthood tend to be the same from generation to generation, but beliefs regarding behavior and economics and social factors regarding nutrition, behavior, economics, and social factors do change. So how do you teach your kid discipline? And so we've evolved from maybe spanking to timeouts to a more liberal approach to parenting. So those things change. How to teach your kids about the value of money? These things do change. In terms of nutrition, prenatal nutrition, what should with this rise of anaphylaxis and autism, what should the mother eat? What should the kid eat to ensure that they have a healthy child who's going to be healthy into their adult life? So there's 5 factors that influence the decision to have parenthood. And the first one is marriage. And marriage leads people to want children. And 2/3 of all live births in Canada occur within marriage. Number 2 is family values. And parents tend to transfer attitudes regarding children bearing to their children. Young adults who have many siblings tend to want more children. So let's say you come from a family of 4, meaning you have 3 other brothers or sisters. You will tend to want to have a larger family. I don't know how much research there is in that statement, but if you poll your friends, ask how many brothers and sisters they have, and then ask how many kids they would like to have, I think you'll see a correlation. Number 3 is divorce, and the textbook suggests that divorce does not seem to influence the want for children, as the impact of divorce dissipates or decreases over time. So it's kind of like the cliche that time heals, that if your parents divorce before you were 15, it's not going to impact you when you're ready to get married. My parents divorced, and I always thought, I never want to put my kid through something like that. So I think it would have affected me if the convention was to get married in the early 20s. But by the time I was 33, it really didn't factor in. So now, if your parents get divorced when an individual's in his 20s, yeah, maybe that will delay marriage a little bit. And often in the face-to-face classroom, we'll discuss and play a what would you rather. Would you rather your parents got divorced when you were age 8 or age 18 or age 28? And it brings up some good discussions. Number 4 is religion. And it says it plays a major role. Young people who report having no religion tend to have the smallest average number of children. And people with religious beliefs tend to associate happiness with marriage and family. And the final one is education. And it tends to have the greatest impact. And in general, the more education a woman has, the less children they bear. So that makes sense as a woman who is off to university, and so even an undergraduate degree, you're probably not going to graduate till 22, 23. Most women would want to establish themselves in a career before thinking about having children. And I forget off the top of my head what the average age of a first-time mother. I think it's over 30 now or close to it. So the statistics back that up. It's opposite for men, and men with more education tend to father more children. And I suppose with more education, in theory, these men would have more financial means, and maybe that correlates in. Okay, I'm going to shut off. I'm going to shut off this parenthood pod in a second, and then just start a new pod for the aging population. But Some scholars and some educators are just worried that we are bubble wrapping our kids and overprotecting kids these days. And if parents are overworking and not seeing their kids as much, they feel guilty, and so they give in to kids more. So they, take them out for dinner and maybe give them unhealthy food as a kind of peace offering for not being around as much. So that's one trend that I think is something to think about. Uh, some scholars and right-wing thinkers think that we're becoming too easy on children and not giving them enough consequences, enough opportunities to fall, not enough opportunities to fail, and that we're in this pro self-esteem movement, and that we're not allowing our kids to fall and to fail. We're overprotecting them. So I'm not sure where I I fall on that spectrum, uh, but that's just something for you guys to think about. So I'll end this part one, and you'll continue with part two shortly.